I do not want to be in a nursing home. I don't want that. That is not living. That's existing. Get rid of me if that's what happens.
Today we're joined by Davinia Taylor, actress, entrepreneur and biohacker. From transforming her health to becoming a best-selling author, she's here to share her journey and how you can unlock your best self.
How stupid are we to think that the sun that we've worshipped for millennia, that grows all of our food, is killing us?
Yeah, I can see you've been in the sun. I'm in the sun. We've hardly got any wrinkles. I don't have Botox. I don't have fillers. You know, we are okay.
What's one go-to mental reset practice for when you're overwhelmed or overstimulated?
A couple £100. I don't care about if there's EMF in it or whatever. I have to sweat. That thing got me through lockdown. And if I've got people on WhatsApp or watching it, something ridiculous like Married at First Sight.
80% of women experience hormonal imbalances without even realizing it. The skincare and makeup could be silently messing with their hormones. What should we be watching out for in the ingredients list?
Well,
So, Davinia, it's been a long time coming. We hang out throughout the year. We chat loads of good stuff, but I think...
never recorded, though.
Yeah, we haven't, have we?
Which keeps us safe.
And so it's nice to sit down with you in a studio and actually chat stuff that our audiences can hear. Because, you know, when my Instagram started growing a bit, yours was going like crazy. And so many of your follows follow me, and I think vice versa as well. So it's really nice to actually... I think for them to have a listen to this today and see what kind of crap we chat about behind the scenes.
Well, exactly. So let's set the scene. So I started following you. Would that be in like, I think when I started Instagram, like 2019 or something. Anyway, I just ran up to you because you were doing the Health Optimization Summit in Olympia in London. And I ran up to you like a psycho fan and just asked you for a blue pill, didn't I?
Yeah.
And you were like, what? I'm like, yeah, have you got one of those two prescriptions, methylene blue things? If you got one of them, I know you hold it. And you're like, okay. Ask that guy over there. And then off I went on my merry way. I think that's how I introduced myself to you.
It was. And I was like, I recognize you from something. I think you're probably one of the worst characters from one of my favorite films I can ever remember, which is Harry on the Boat.
But I think that was back in 2000. I shot a movie called As Harry on the Boat with Danny Dyer in Ibiza. And oh my God, what a laugh that was. But you can see it's genuinely a laugh, that film.
Yeah.
But you've just got back from Ibiza, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. It was a great trip.
So it's a mad island though, isn't it? Because you've got such contradiction. You've got healing on one side and absolute debauchery on the other.
Yes.
And it's like, where'd you get the balance? Where'd you get the balance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's actually really funny how there's so two extreme sides as well. I was saying this yesterday before we flew back. It's just like amazing how it can be the cleanest, most beautiful luxury place, like for instance, Six Senses, where the event was, or downtown, trashy, everyone walking around with baseball caps sideways and massive great ear hoops in. And yes. Now, maybe you go from one side to the other. Maybe that's also...
But how do you balance? So I know you were knackered coming back from Ibiza. I just saw you this morning. I'd just done a radio show and I had a stash of ketones in my bag just to clear your brain out. And they help, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Ketones are great for that fog that you get from traveling, that you get from even sleeping in a different bed to what you're used to. You know, we're creatures of habit, regardless of what you've been up to.
Yeah.
You know, how many late nights, how many bottles of wine, whatever. I mean, it does damage your travel, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But I think those ketones are actually, I mean, they taste ridiculously bad. But in fact, it really gave me a good wake-up call. It's really great.
Sharpens you. It doesn't get you too hard. So I like this one here. This one's key. And I had to pack a suitcase full in the USA, a whole suitcase of them, because you can't get them in the UK yet. And these don't taste rank.
Really?
No.
But I feel like the other one is really potent.
The hardcore, it tastes like gin. And you just feel like I'm doing something bad, therefore it will work.
Yeah, definitely tastes like gin.
But it's not gin. So anyway, yeah. So welcome back. Welcome back,
Yeah,
Tim.
thanks.
Good to see you still alive.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to be back. Although my sleep score's been fantastic while I've been in Ibiza, except for one evening. But I noticed that I have like 5 to 6 sleep cycles with my Ultra Human ring when I'm in Ibiza. And I think it's because in the end we're in a villa in the middle of nowhere with no EMFs or any of that crap. Come back to London, 2 sleep cycles, even though my sleep score was 95 last night because I needed to catch up. It's insane. So there is something, even though my apartment is EMF protected, still something that stops me having full sleep cycles here.
Is it the ley lines in Ibiza? You have to go and get a place on Primrose Hill. They've got ley lines, haven't they? Something to do with the electromagnetic field of Ibiza in particular. That's why it's so healing.
Right.
And that's why all the hippies went there. And I think Primrose Hill has got it as well. but I like your apartment rather than Primrose Hill.
Yeah. A view of water has always been my dream.
But although the Thames water isn't quite as relaxing as the Mediterranean, is it?
No, it's not. And
how many bodies have passed through here?
Yeah, and it also has the highest level of a specific drug in the water there, apparently, when they test the Thames water. It's like, because apparently there are big sniffers here in the UK.
Without question.
Yeah.
Sure. Yes, there is a problem, isn't there? Woke Coke. That's what I was talking to someone about that, because apparently, like in Chiswick, they have woke Coke that's like vegan and sustainable. So, that comes out all the middle-class dinner parties as they read The Guardian. So that's that covered, woke Coke.
Wow.
Supporting the local infrastructure down in Columbia, apparently. So there you go.
Oh my goodness, good old London.
And they're vegan as well. So
before we get on with some other bits and pieces of these guys, I just want to point out about your new book, which I love the title, by the way, Future Proof. So tell me a little bit about this book and what's going on.
Right. So it's my third book. So my first one, it's not a diet. It was predominantly about weight loss and introducing the whole ketogenic. And I even explored about, the veg oil and how sugar is virtually everywhere. And actually the dietary advice, I spun on its head and I lost 4 stone. That was the first book. And then I did another book called Hack Your Hormones, which actually people thought it was about the menopause, but it wasn't. It was about hormones overall, from ADHD to the menopause and, of course, our overeating. So it was across all the sexes, not just, there was one chapter on the menopause. But this book really future-proof. I'm trying to sort of I know our audiences are already engaged. That's why they're listening to this podcast. But it's how do we get our families into it? Particularly that generation, our parents, who just won't listen to us. They are absolutely steadfast in listening to the mainstream media for health advice. So I'm getting ready. I did Chris Evans' breakfast show this morning. So it was a 9 o'clock call time. So I had Sky News on. I don't normally have Sky News on the TV, but I wanted something in the hotel room because it's miserable. And I'm watching about heart disease explosion, between men aged 35 to 55. And again, the professor who's head of the Heart Foundation is saying, it's to do with high cholesterol and high blood pressure. And I'm just like, oh my God. I mean, even Ansel Keys debunked this in the 90s. And we've still got it going out on primetime TV where that demographic is watching, and they're still fighting the cholesterol. They're still saying it's high blood pressure is caused by cholesterol. I mean, this is basic. This is really basic stuff to us, guys. So what I did with Future Proof was try and really simplify it. So you can sort of say to your parents, listen, just have a look at this. And hopefully it will catch fire, because people need to understand that we've been lied to and duped since the 70s. And I don't want my mum's already dead now, She was put on statins. She was like a rake, And you just think, did that drive the cancer up? I mean, thank God she didn't get Alzheimer's, because that's the biggie, isn't it? That's the one that we're all terrified of. And, a friend of mine's just recently lost his dad to it, and his funeral's tomorrow. And it's just horrific death. So I'm tackling all those big diseases in there so you can open up the conversation with your parents, and maybe open up the conversation with the bloody doctors that want to put me on statins. I can run a marathon if I want to. I've got 0 calcification, but they want to put me on statins because I've got higher cholesterol. And you're like, well, actually, I'd rather have a heart attack than Alzheimer's, I'll be honest with you.
It's actually crazy, because this is one thing that Gary Brecker talks about, isn't it? It's he mentioned that when he was a mortality statistician, and I love this because it really defines the industries very well. It's the thing that cut life expectancy by up to 50% shorter was no relationships or poor relationships, right? Who lived the longest? People with the high cholesterol. People that are on statins didn't really live any longer. And he worked for as a mortality statistician for life insurance companies. So they would predict within a few weeks of someone's life length, because their finances were protected by predicting people's life length. People on high cholesterol, with higher cholesterol, didn't live shorter.
I think, as Seem said, if you're on statins, regardless of all the side effects and everything that they cause, they can only extend your life by 4 days anyway. So you could have a terrible time on them with the muscle. I mean, you stop walking. You stop walking, number one, which is obviously what you have to do to stay alive. You've got to keep mobile. I mean, this is just basic stuff. Getting outside, creating vitamin D with sunlight and cholesterol underneath your skin. And it's wow, we really don't we really, but I think our generation, like Gen X, and sort of like going into the next gen are a little bit more skeptical about like the BBC and you know and Sky and all the
programming, the mind programming channels.
But it's just like that religion that's come down from big pharma into media. It just translates so well. It was such a simple message: get rid of cholesterol and you won't get a heart attack. It was so easy to target, and they had a solution with polyunsaturated fatty acids, which I go into in there with them. I've interviewed Kate Shanahan on a number of occasions, and she explained really well that. To me, because obviously not being a scientist, I need something that's easy to understand. And she said, well, think of it this way. Saturated fat is a stable fat. Unsaturated fat is unstable and therefore can oxidize. So you got your polyunsaturated fatty acids, unstable, saturated fat, stable. Just changing the name alone would spin the whole rhetoric, wouldn't it? And the fact they call it vegetable oil anyway, just instantly the whole population thinks it's healthy because we've been told to eat our 5 a day. We've been told vegetables above everything. So, you know, again, it's just that media messaging. It's so well engineered and it is a religion. But I mean, maybe we're about 5 years away from it changing, maybe less. I don't know what's happening in Maha. So, you know, hopefully, because we just copy and paste in the UK. Eventually we copy. But I think there'll be a ton of kickback, of course. But, you know, it's not working. Everyone is getting sicker, younger. And remaining sicker for longer. So you start getting sick, chronically sick at 40, and you remain so till you're 70 and then you die.
However, how many followers have you had? This is a one. Yeah, but we're living much longer than we ever have done in history. It's like...
in a wheelchair, in a window, in a care home. That's not living. That's just ticking a box. No, I want to be walking around. I want to look after my great grandchildren. I want to laugh my head off at a play that they're in or the nativity. I do not want to be in purgatory in a nursing home. I don't want that. Get rid of me if that's what happens. I can't live like that because that would crucify me after all these years. I love chatting to people. I love talking. I love laughing. That is not living. That's existing. That is not. I mean, it's so infuriating, that particular statistic, isn't it? But didn't like flipping Plato live to 80 anyway?
Well, the funny thing is that the devil is in the detail here because when you actually look at the ages, because there's so many birth deaths, it brings the average down. Massive, so they say, are we living longer now? No. On average, maybe because of the birth death.
Yeah.
But we've nailed that problem. We don't really have the same statistics when it comes to birth deaths. However, that now it looks like we're living longer. So it's like whenever
also we've got rid of like the golden age of medicine is when we got rid of infectious diseases like TB. You know, so there's that as well. There's infectious disease and pneumonia, which should take people out all the time. So there is that, but we do not live past 100 or really well. You know, we look frail. We don't have enough muscle on us. We can't see, we can't hear. And we have the technology and we have the insights to hack around that for sure. But it's the whole mass messaging that just pollutes that. So we are told to stay out the sun. We are told not to, never go into the sun. Just stay under lighting like this all day, every day. No wonder we get skin cancer when we go outside. You know, it's crazy.
Well, Carnivore Ellis did a post the other day. It was a really, really simple one. And it was like, how stupid are we to think that the sun that we've worshipped for millennia, that grows all of our food, that plants move towards, is killing us? Respecting it is one thing.
Yeah.
But thinking or being told that it's dangerous, like from something we evolve with, is bonkers. And it was a really, really cool little reel, actually.
I think I saw it. And it does like hammer home. But I mean, even people like dermatologists saying, well, if anything, it's going to age your skin. No, sugar's going to age your skin. The sun, I mean, I can see you've been in the sun. I'm in the sun. We've hardly got any wrinkles. I don't have Botox. I don't have fillers, you know, and we are okay. I have a high fat diet and I'm out in the sun and the rain and the sleet and the snow every single day in Lancashire, running 7K with my mental dogs. And I think I do all right, skin quality wise. I've had it checked. And the dermatologist I went to the Landerhof to research for this book. She put me in this big it takes a photograph of your body. And she said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And that means cutting out seed oils, having a high fat diet and getting outside as often as possible, come rain and shine. Because you get a resilience, right? And if people say, oh, it's because you're lucky. No, it's not. I'm not lucky because if I look at my if I look at my great grandmother died at 80, my grandmother died 70, my mother died at 60. So there's something going wrong and I don't want to die at 50 because that's in 2 years' time. So I'm like, no. I'm going to change whatever my great-grandmother was doing. I think I'll aim for that because she was 80.
No, you're just lucky. You're just lucky.
Yeah, just really lucky. Yeah, dead lucky. It's all right for you. It's all right for you. Yeah, she says going outside in absolute abhorrent weather in February when it's still dark to run, to release dopamine, to get my mood up, because otherwise, I can get depressed and then I'll overeat. And so it's like, no, you've got to look after N of one, haven't you?
There's one thing I love about your content, actually, is because you're so bloody real with it. It's not like you're out running, listening to your 90s music and stuff, which I love because because we're a similar age, obviously.
Yeah.
So it always makes me smile and it's always the same era. But I love how real and like you practice what you preach. And I think you are kind of lucky in a way, as am I, because we're both addictive personalities.
Yeah.
Because when we're in something, we're in it. It either doesn't register at all. It's like, what? I don't even know anything about that. Versus, I'm in this and I know this inside out and back to front. And that's the addictive personality. So we are kind of lucky for our genetics in a way. But if we didn't have these genetics, we probably wouldn't be in that place to need all this stuff in the first place.
Well, maybe. And, I think there's always like a few people in a tribe who are going to have an addictive personality because they've always wanted to be risk takers. We always get, and I love hacking into how my mood changes. I love instant gratification. So I'm always seeking it. And that's part of the nature of having an addictive personality. It turned on me back in the 90s because alcohol got me. But I soon put that down when I turned 30. That means my 40s, my 50s, my 60s, my 70s, my 80s are without alcohol. And I'm funneling that need to feel great into like biohacking and biohacking my family and biohacking my friends because it's like osmosis. They see you doing well and they go, oh, what you doing, what you drinking, what you taking? How do I do that? Because they see it working. It's not like when you go to a doctor and you have a pill and you have to come back in 3 months' time. And this is instant gratification. This changes your brain chemistry. Like you this morning, a bit knackered, I give you some ketones, then 15 minutes, you're back on it. That is power. And that's taking the power away from the powers that be and putting it back into your fingertips.
Well, it's an N equals 1 as well, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like, your brain chemistry or your body. For instance, I was in Ibiza last year, actually, sounds like a habit, at Intelligent Change Summit, and Sanctum were there. And I don't know if you've seen Sanctum. It's kind of like you put the headphones on and you do a workout and it's like motivational noises. And in Ibiza, they do it on the beach and then walk through the hills and through the trees and everything. And it's all like really amazing.
What is it like, binaural beats or is it messaging?
It's music and Luke talking through it. And it's like, right, now you're feeling amazing and you're doing this. And one day I went out and someone said, come along, Tim, come and do Sanctum. And I was like, no, I just don't feel like it. Just don't feel like it. I'm like, I was in a bit of a not a great place from a breakup or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to do it. And they're like, come on, you'll feel better for it. And it's like, do you know what?
That's exactly when you need to do it.
Then I was on the beach and like with these headphones on, going for it, punching the ground and moving around. I was just like, I feel so freaking amazing right now. I realized that using my body instead of using my brain, which I like to think I exercise my brain a lot, but not my body so much at the time. I was like, wow, there's really something in changing your state by using your body. So
and that's the trouble that we have right now because so many of our kids are kind of doom scrolling, sat down with this weird posture, and it's and you've got that flashing light coming off the phones. I've got 4 kids, right? And I, by no means am I a purist. The amount of times I've said to them, go and get on, ready up, go and play Fortnite because I cannot think. Go and battle someone. Go and do a battle royale. I don't even know the terminologies, but I'm just like, I know I can get some peace when they're on the screens, which isn't a biohacking mum thing, but I'm a mum of 4. We live in a small house and it's mayhem and I've got to get school uniforms ready, flipping World Book Day ready, get the tea on, flipping, I don't know, the dogs have ran all over the bed, so the beds need changing. It's shit. So sometimes you've just got to say, get on your screens. Just doom scroll, will you? Give me 10 minutes. But it's like, how do you biohack around that? How do you safeguard them with that? If you're watching, like, say, Netflix on the TV, it's not as bad as watching it on your phone, is it? And that, like, the phone, like the TikTok, the Reels. Because don't get me wrong, I've got a 17-year-old in the house and I've got a 19-year-old. You think the 17-year-old doesn't have an influence on the 9-year-old? If I just had one 9-year-old, he probably wouldn't be on TikTok. Of course he's going to grab his phone and have a look. That's how it works in a family of lads, So I worry sick about the 9-year-old being overexposed to TikTok, which the others weren't because they were little. And I have more control over them. And I'm thinking, what do I do? How can I stop his little face getting all this flicking light on it? And, it's like a slot machine. There you go.
Some blue blockers.
But how do you know the difference between blue blockers that work and blue blockers that are just, shit on Amazon?
It's a great question, actually. So I've been wearing blue blocking glasses now since about 2016, and the first brand I ever bought was Swanwick, actually.
Right.
They're the OGs, and in fact, these are Swanwick. So if you can see blue through lenses, for instance, these are my optician reading glasses, yeah?
Yeah.
I can see blue through them perfectly.
Yeah.
But they do filter a tiny little bit, probably about 8% blue. That's
Okay.
it. So really your brain is still, or your eyes are still seeing blue. Okay, so they're not blocking blue. So if you can see through them, they're not blocking blue, maybe filtering a tiny bit. Then you've got them that are orange, and then you've got red. Okay. Now, these cut out about 70% of blue light and the majority of the flicker. Now, the thing that's different with Swanwick that I really liked was because when you look across the lens, you'll see that there's a slight blue reflection.
Yes, it's like purpley.
So it
like
has
violet,
a coating on it to reflect off blue light as well as filter them. So they don't need to be dark red like the other brands. And there's 2 university studies done specifically on sleep optimization with these lenses. The only brand to have 2 university studies showing the efficacy of sleep, which is fantastic. So if you can't see blue through them, which obviously I can't, it's completely orange right now, it's blocking out the blue light.
And would you say you'd have to do that when you watch? Because I love the telly. I love falling asleep in front of the telly, which obviously it doesn't affect me. But I mean, would you say if you're struggling with sleep, you have to put those on while you're watching the TV? And by the way, full disclosure, I've got a TV in my bedroom.
Ooh.
I know, but the boys turn the living room into a gym, and there is like weights everywhere, and there's like a second-hand power play, and there's like benches and a mirror leaned up against it. It's awful. It's like a 1980s lad's bedroom. It's terrible. I can't tell you.
Well, to be honest, they say that you should wear them after sunset. I would say for 2 to 3 hours before bed is ideal. And the thing is, when I used to hate wearing them, and I don't really want to stand out too much wearing orange glasses everywhere, but wearing them 2 to 3 hours before bed is ideal.
If you're struggling with sleep, I guess.
For instance, someone said to me the other week, I sent them a pair, and they said, oh, I gave them to my mum, but she stopped wearing them. I was like, why? Didn't they work for her? And it's like, no, because she would always fall asleep. I was like,
okay, job done. Right, okay.
So 2 hours before bed, I mean, even if you have them an hour before bed, what's doing is when we have an absence of blue light, majority of our blue light goes into our eyes. Our skin is photoreceptive, so it picks up on it too. But majority of the light goes into our eyes. Now, when there's an absence of blue light, our body starts secreting melatonin, secreting it. Okay, so you are then secreting your sleep hormone when there's no blue light around. And what it is an evolutional perspective. Is when sun comes up, all animals and everything would wake up. And that's when you needed to have your wits around to look for predators, right?
Yeah.
When sun sets, most things go to sleep. And this is what wakes us up.
Except teenage boys, which obviously there's an evolutionary thing for that, right? So it's weird because I was talking to another mum about it, and she's got little ones. And I said, you watch, as soon as they hit 14, they'll start becoming nocturnal. And they really do. And I'm assuming that's to protect the tribe. So you've got those young adolescents hanging around with the older so-called warriors while the mums and babies go back to sleep. They wake up. And trust me, I've got a 17-year-old in the house that I can hear playing FIFA at 3 a.m. And I'm like, shut up, you're going to wake the kids up. But there's obviously, we forget that if you roll it back just a millennia, you could start seeing how circadian rhythms work and how we worked as a tribe of like 20, like raising kids. You always had like the grandmothers involved in this sort of thing. I mean, I probably would have been a grandmother 1,000 years ago. Don't bring that on me yet. But everything starts to make sense. Even medicine starts to sound a bit weird, doesn't it? When you start looking at it from an evolutionary point of view, diet point of view, light point of view. Like, what would have happened if we were still in a tribe? How would this have worked to our advantage? And like you said, the sun.
How many times have you been in front of a log fire or something or other and wanted to fall asleep?
Exactly.
Right? It's because the light spectrum is slightly different.
Yeah.
It's not got blue light in it.
Yeah.
And it's much more calming. And also, it's not at such a high point. So, for instance, I heard...
And it's hypnotic, isn't it? You stare at the fire.
It's amazing stuff. And the thing is, I think the belief is, and this came from Dr. Jack Kruse, is like, well, when sun is high, it's daytime, and our eyes perceive the height of the sun, so it knows the time of day. So part of the circadian rhythm. When it's lower, it's sunset, so it knows it's ready to start sleeping, right? So fire is much lower. Whereas when you're walking around a house and you've got lights hanging from the ceiling and everything, what time of day does your body think it is?
Yeah, of course, noon.
So unless you block it out, you're not going to secrete your sleep hormone properly. And some people will say, oh, well, I sleep fine, or, I don't have too much of a problem with sleeping. Yeah, but generally, if you're lying in bed for an hour and your brain's going da 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 da, that's when you start secreting your sleep hormone, and why you don't sleep for a few hours after you've gone to bed, because that's when the lights are off. But the crazy thing is you then pick up your phone, you start playing with your phone, and it's blaring out blue light.
Flashing and slot machine, and that's anticipation of what's the next reel.
And you're like literally awake again. Your body thinks it's daytime because it's got blue light.
You've got adrenaline as well.
So yeah, it's the simplest. I always say, and I love blue blocking glasses. I think they've been a fantastic thing for my health and sleep specifically. They're so simple. If I didn't live on a desert island and I only had to pick one biohack, it would be blue light glasses. And
I'm watching all the GPs saying you mustn't trust people with glasses like that on.
it's not quite ironic.
I know. Isn't that ironic? I mean, God, it's really hard to get. I mean, there's one really good GP actually. She and I want to talk to you about this. She was talking about the insanity that we can't get melatonin here in the UK, particularly for women who are going through perimenopause, and the first protocol is Xanax. And I'm like, I need to do a campaign on this because you can get it in France. But I mean, can you imagine giving me an alcoholic Xanax? I mean, touch wood, I know how to hack my sleep, I know how to hack my sleep. But they said it causes liver toxicity. So you're pushing mummy wine o'clock. You can buy vodka on the M6, but you can't give me melatonin after I've had a stressful day with 4 kids in the house and overhead lights and flipping World Book Day to panic about. It is absolutely crazy how we have borders around what is considered healthy. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Melatonin is dangerous for you, but you can have wines pushed on you. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. You deserve wine. Completely wrecks your sleep.
I mean, it's all about industry. It's literally.
But why? I wonder why. I think it's just UK, Scandinavia, and Switzerland aren't allowed melatonin in Europe.
The thing is,
everywhere else on the globe, it's okay.
I love melatonin. Don't get me wrong. I think it's bloody fantastic. But there are things you can do from precursors for your own melatonin, such as glycine. Glycine, which is a single amino acid. You can put it in your tea before you go to bed.
That's what I tell people to do with our collagen. So just get 10 grams of it. 1/3 of it's glycine anyway. Shove it in some chamomile tea. The apigenin in the chamomile tea is fabulous. I used to think chamomile tea, oh, shut up. But it actually really works. It's that apigenin. If you wanted to just target it, not drink the chamomile tea, you just get apigenin and make sure you get some glycine. Magnesium biglycinate, and then like you said, just freaking make everywhere dark, put candles up. Non-toxic candles, which I actually have in stock, non-toxic candles, because that's another thing,
I was
isn't
saying
it?
that in the car. I love those bloody candles. It's fantastic. Coconut oil candles, they smell fantastic. They're pretty damn natural. They got funky names on them. They last forever, and then when it's still warm, you can take it off and use it
body
as
moisturiser.
I know,
I put it on my hair, actually. I do. It takes all the split ends away. It's just coconut oil,
It's great. Yeah, it's bonkers. The other thing that I've found works really well is also taking 5-HTP before bed.
Speak to me about 5-HTP interacting with SSRIs. I know there's a lot of worry about that. Because, I mean, I'm just thinking about my demographic. We've all been shoved on antidepressants. We get put on the antidepressants because we're going through the menopause, by the way, because that's apparently the cure. I mean, it's crazy. So we've got a whole issue with antidepressants right now.
So I think the funny thing is again, this isn't obviously medical advice or anything, but I think what we evolved with is what we should try to stick towards. And I think one thing I've looked at with my genetics specifically is the conversion of tryptophan to 5-HTP for me. So there's a bit of a down-regulated part there. So I can take tryptophan, which helps a little bit, which is a precursor, obviously, to 5-HTP, precursor to serotonin and also melatonin. But if I shortcut that and I go straight in with 5-HTP because of my genetics, then that helps me with precursors of serotonin and melatonin as well.
I found with 5-HTP, because I have used it, particularly when I first started my journey, like about 10 years ago, and I was really inflamed and very flatline, I was taking a high dose of 5-HTP. However, now I find it blunts me. So I'd only do it in cases of kind of anxiety. That's kind of PMT. I'm obviously heading to menopause now, so my periods are a little bit more irregular. Not too bad, but I know when something's kicking in because I get overwhelmed. Like ADHD flares up and I get mad at traffic, mad at emails. So that's when 5-HTP is useful, but not on a regular day because it can blunt the joy. And I'm all about the joy, obviously. Loving joy junkie. So I just say that with a caveat for people who are like feeling really depressed. Careful it doesn't tip you into that anhedonia, which antidepressants often do anyway. They make you feel blunt and, well, just indifferent indifference to life. So just that was my only thing with 5-HTP. So I guess if you were out partying or something like that, 5-HTP might be useful to boost your cozy feeling, but too much, it tips over into lack of anything. Apathy, yeah. And that's an awful way to live because that's how I felt when I was on antidepressants, apathy.
So depending on people's genetics, I mean, you can go in with tryptophan. I mean, it's funny actually because the 5-HTP thing, I remember my mum about 10 years ago before we fixed her migraines, which was mercury poisoning, by the way, and metal fillings.
Was that fillings? Yeah.
So I got her on methylation supplements and got her
Did you get the fillings out?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because, I mean, sometimes you can't take them out because it's even more dangerous, eh?
They say this, but when it's done with a proper biological dentist, and they do have like a rubber dam that goes around the tooth, so it's completely isolated. They have air vacuum taking it all the time. They put on all the whole toxic gear and stuff like that to make sure that some people do say it's more dangerous taking it out, but I think if it's done with a biological dentist, like Dr. Dom Nishwis or Endu Clinic in Harley Street, they do it properly. And
I've got a dentist actually up north for anyone who's listening. He's a biological dentist, Renovo. He's a great guy, lovely guy. So it's handy. He's literally in my village, which is weird. I didn't choose the village because of him. It was just like, bloody hell, you're one of us. Wow. In North Lancashire, who thought? Anyway, but yeah, biological dentist.
Yeah, so we got those metal fillings out. But the one thing that she had read about was that 5-HTP helps with migraines. Well, there's also literature on how MDMA, not that I'm saying use MDMA or anything, but that people that have migraines actually can use MDMA like once or twice a year that actually helps them with their migraines.
How would that what's that? Because that must be a massive surge of serotonin, dopamine, endorphins, oxytocin. Massive rush of that.
Implying that migraines can be hormonal neurotransmitter imbalances. It's the same with anxiety. Obviously, like people who have anxious, often feel like it's in their gut, which obviously a lot of this stuff is converted in our gut. So when your gut's off, then your emotions can be off as well. So there's something that I heard about years ago, and it's like, actually, I supplement with 5-HTP every night before bed. My sleep is fantastic as a result.
What sort of dosage do you do? Because I'd be worried about that blunting.
Only 50 milligrams, so it's quite a low dose. But they sell them up to 250, 500 milligrams, which I think is way too high. But I do notice for me ongoing that it's worked very well for me with my mood in general. I feel more me. Whereas when I'm without it, because of my genetic component, it feels a little down-regulated.
Would you feel a little bit more negative? As in less optimistic, less positive?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And, obviously, in my younger years, should I say, when I used MDMA, I felt like it was a particularly good thing for me. I really felt like it was symbiotic with my system, even though it was very chemical-based. But I think
it's like me with white wine. Yeah, do you know what? I think I'm onto something here.
But I think everyone that's done MDMA says the same thing about it, to be honest. So maybe that's just an excuse. But the thing is, I found that the 5-HTP ongoing for me has been really fantastic. I do feel like more like me in the world, and my sleep does do a lot better as a result of having it. So I take that 30 to 40 minutes before bed, and I didn't realize the significance of it until I'd actually looked at the specific genes for the tryptophan to 5-HTP conversion.
A lot of aha moments when you go through your genetics, aren't there?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Although, like with, I suppose, the whole DNA thing wasn't as revolutionary as we wanted it to be. It's more about the epigenetics, I guess, which is good because it puts us in control, being able to get your genes to express in a certain way, like you're doing, like I suppose if you didn't have 5-HTP, how would you have hacked it with food? How would you have hacked it with biohacks? What, loads of turkey, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we are having, like, for instance, genes are expressing worse and worse in some places because of the chemicals that are in the system, which we wouldn't have had to deal with. Our ancestors wouldn't have had to deal with.
Only 2 generations ago.
Do you want to hear something really crazy about this?
Yeah, go. Always.
So
Always.
This is really bonkers, actually. So my grandfather has a really great jaw, really good cheekbones. He looked very masculine. And I would say I kind of resembled him a bit, but not particularly greatly. Anyway, and then I started doing TRT just a little bit to optimize my levels because they were a bit low. And I think it's partly because of stress, because that's a killer of testosterone, partly because of living in a city, partly because of microplastics. And, if we look at the data of testosterone levels in men these days, everyone's hormones are all over the place for obvious reasons, right? So I started supplementing.
Kellogg's ruined it, literally, because he put cereal on the menu to reduce boys' level of testosterone to stop them masturbating. That's what Dr. Kellogg's did. And lo and behold, we have an epidemic of zero testosterone. Sorry, go on.
No worries. No. So it's actually quite funny because I've been on low dose for a while.
Yeah.
And I also started practicing nose breathing instead of mouth breathing and chewing gum.
Yep.
And then I shared out the picture of my grandfather, as I do once a year around the time that he passed, which is actually in 4 days' time, 2003. And I shared it out and someone said, "Wow, you look like him." And then I looked at the two pictures next to each other. I'm like, my grandfather's testosterone levels are so much higher than mine. And that's epigenetics kicking in, as in like hormone levels are much lower. My testosterone was, 30% lower than it should be at my age. And now my testosterone levels have been higher for a year and a half, 2 years. I'm starting to resemble him. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, and people are saying, "Oh, Tim, you're looking much more masculine." I'm like, this stuff works. So this is epigenetics really like using, for instance, technology and environment and whatnot is reversing health quite badly. Yeah. However, we're now using technologies such as supplements, such as red light therapy or hyperbaric
even just nose taping.
Exactly.
Mouth taping. I love those nose things, by the way.
And it's reversing the problems that technology is causing us. So we're actually, it's almost like a tug of war. I'm using this technology stuff to reverse the damages of technology. But that's epigenetics. It's like now I resemble my grandfather much more because I'm hacking.
That's fascinating,
I know,
isn't it?
It's great. I'll show you the picture after the recording. But that's another example of how it's working. And I think, like, to your point about your grandma and her age, and then how different it was for them back then, and how it's now reversing.
Well, exactly. So if my mum died, she'd just turned 60, right? And my great-grandmother died after like 84 or something. She was still at home, And it's just like, we are doing something very wrong since the 70s. And that's when everything changed. And my mum was a massive advocate for Vitalite. No, heart healthy. No, you got to have skim milk. I mean, all that is what I was raised on, And it wasn't to be thin or anything like that. She said, no, because that's healthy. And look what happened to her. She got cancer very young, And it's like, wow. And she was put on statins. I think she was put on HRT. And you've not got a cat and mouse chance, have you? Statins and HRT? For a woman who's susceptible for breast cancer? Of course it's going to come back. Of course it's going to come and get you.
Remember, if you want to learn how to take control of your health and you're sick of traditional healthcare and temporary fixes, you should come to the Health Optimization Summit. You can join other like-minded enthusiasts and meet the world's leading minds in health, wellness, and science. You can even test out a load of groundbreaking health tech and latest supplements. Get your tickets at healthoptimization.com.
And another thing I go into in the book, actually, is like, it's so disconnected in a hospital. So you've got neurology department over there, pediatricians over there, you got the gut over here, and none of them ever talk to each other. So you don't know what one's impacting the other. And then you end up with this pharmaceutical cascade and everyone's just managing symptoms caused by the original drug. And it's like, oh my God, it's crazy. But
reductionist medicine.
Yeah.
They call it.
And what do you do? Because they've healed so many people. Well, not healed. They've saved so many lives, I guess. So you can't be seen to say anything bad about the NHS. And they're there on the front line dealing with an impossible situation. But I'm like, something's got to give. And I think it's the guidelines have got to change. Because I think it's that fundamental fear of the sun, fear of fat, fear of meat. And you've got and the whole eat well plate, which really has tipped us into, well, it's everyone's got prediabetes, which makes you susceptible for everything. I mean, literally, even skinny people have got prediabetes because you've got constant stimulation of insulin in the background. Forget the blood sugar. It's insulin in the background that's happening. Your blood sugar might be completely stable, but what's going on in the background? And I think when you, if you go to your doctor and you ask them to do an insulin test, you've got to go twice. That's why they don't do it. They just do fasting blood sugar. When really the marker we're after, which tells you 10 years in advance of prediabetes, is what's your insulin doing? How's that responding? Insulin response. So hopefully when that changes, we'll get off the bloody cholesterol religion and we'll start looking at this poor insulin that's being fired up constantly. I'm not talking about type 1 diabetes or type 2. And I think that is the root cause for most of our chronic diseases, you know? I think so anyway. From the research that I'm looking at and the professors that I'm talking to, they seem to think, like Benjamin Bickman seems to think it's like, that's the marker that we're missing out on.
I agree. I mean, I think it's a really interesting point you raise. When you look at the medical system, like, for instance, saved my ass several times, and I'm very grateful for that. And I think if you think in the mindset of a politician, they got so many things. It's hard enough running a company of, 10, 20, 30
it's hard
people.
Enough running a house. Yeah. I can't even run a household. Right. Never mind the Goliath that is the NHS.
Exactly right. So that's just one part of what the government oversees. So someone that doesn't know anything about health is saying, well, here's the statistics on how many people we've saved and blah, 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 blah. It's like they don't understand health. And it's not until someone like, for instance, Tom Watkins comes along in the government and goes, this is where I was and this is where I became just from eating properly and following the bulletproof diet or whatever. And it's like then people start waking up. Or when one of the politicians' kids get ill and they know that the system can't help them and they start waking up. And I think traditional medicine has helped in an emergency care setting so much. Politicians probably think, oh, well, chronic health is the same.
Yeah.
But in fact, biohacking or health optimization or longevity space or whatever wouldn't even be needed if medicine was working in its entirety, right? So they need separating out. They go chronic and urgent care.
Yeah.
And it's like,
acute,
we should understand acute, yeah. And so we should really understand where they both work together. Instead of saying, oh, big pharma's evil or the pharma industry thinking biohacking's dangerous for their business. Or instead of thinking, how can we actually have healthier humans and do the right thing so that both industries can coexist? For instance, imagine big pharma actually owned some of these supplement companies as well. Like, for instance, they could make the best quality if the goal was health.
And the price could be a lot cheaper.
Exactly.
You know?
And I think...
I mean, like, even getting into like red light beds, photobiomodulation beds, they could knock those out super cheap. Pharma could, you know? They could do. And, all of a sudden people start understanding light and anti-inflammatory properties of red light. But no, they're like, no, you're selling bullshit. And I'm like, well, anyway, I'm just going to go outside then. Whatever. Surely you can't stop me from doing that. Oh, but they are. And then I put my tin hat on and off I go, skip down the road.
So I remember seeing some slides from a talk with one of the big management consultant firms to one of the big pharma firms. And it was like, healthy patients don't equal longer term profits. And that's the mindset. And I mean, obviously it's a business. It's an evil when you look at it in that way. I mean, I just want to share a stat quickly that I got here. Is like the Global Wellness Institute says that the wellness supplement market is valued at 150 billion globally and still growing. Does it concern you that people turn to supplements rather than whole food?
Yeah, I guess, but for me, it's time. So I come home from work and, I'm kind of like in... not the supplement game, but I'm kind of like in the food game. So I sell, our biggest seller is collagen, bovine collagen, which is collagen peptides. And it's a food. It is a food, but you can supplement your diet with it. So if, for example, I will chuck it in a pasta sauce or I'll chuck it in the soup because I can't be arsed doing a stew because I've just come in and I've had a row with one of them or someone's got a detention or someone's lost the phone and I've got to get on the phone to the flipping insurance company. And so for me, it's time that I can't do all these beautiful stews and beautiful bone broths. And so I've put them into a powder form just to make it more convenient, which is, oh my God, ultra-processed, but it isn't ultra-processed. I consider an ultra-processed food with maltodextrin, veg oil, and the usual addicting properties, the sugars and sneaky sugars in there as well, and the gums. That's what I call an ultra-processed food. I list them in my book, Future Proofs, what to look out for. But I think it's inevitable that you're going to have to get supplements because who's got time? Both people are working now. We've not got we can't have a single income household anymore. Both of you have got to go out to work. And who ends up cooking and emptying the dishwasher and loading it and emptying it? The mum. Because we've got this full-time job and we've got this other thing called a hobby, which is running the whole household and making sure people don't get run over or people don't punch each other or people don't drown in the bath. and people go to school clean so you don't get social services on your back. So that means we have to supplement our diet. Because I'd love to be able to do a venison stew that's been marinating for hours and hours, and the kids come home and I've grown my own potatoes and there's no glyphosate on it, and I've kneaded my own sourdough. It's not going to frigging happen.
Yeah.
I can't do it. There's not a mum in the Western world who can do that. Because we have everything, and we have this other hobby called running a house, which isn't a hobby.
You raise a great point. You raise a really great point, actually. It's like some people say, well, why do you need supplements if you eat healthy? Well, number one, a lot of the foods doesn't actually have the level of nutrients in it that it used to.
And it's not been prepared the same way. We don't have time to prepare it. We don't have an open fire to put like simmer bones for like 72 hours. We don't have that. The amount of times I have done bone broth and I've been in such a rush and I've taken it over to the sink and I've tipped it away and I've not put anything underneath the colander, and I've literally watched all the bone broth go down the sink and I'm left with a load of bones and I have lost my shit. Because I'm busy doing something else and someone's shouting me and someone's like, you know, that is just not how life is. We live in the 21st century, and if you want it all, something's got to give, because there is no such thing as balance.
Yeah, no, I agree. And this is why I love the range of stuff that you do, actually, because it always makes me smile when I see something else pop up that, you know, that you've been working on. For instance, when your team sent me the candles, I was just like, genius, like so simple. And then like, for instance, with the bone broth powder as well, especially the chocolate one, which I blend in with the banana. Amazing.
I know, because it's bone broth made. We're talking about actual protein. It's Scandinavian bone broth. The Vikings were goddamn good at that. They were great at going into battle on bone broth. But I am not going to start making it at home and then flavouring it and everything and prattling around. I'm not going to do that. So it's in a powder form, but it's bone broth based. It's not whey. It's not pea. It's not going to make you bloat. The kids are literally going out with proper bioavailable amino acids. It's got a bit of stevia in, but friggin' hell. What are we going to do? We've all been raised on Kit Kats and Mars bars and Snickers. That's what I'm trying to plug. I'm trying to be the middle between the high street palate we were all raised on and the hijacking of our taste buds versus healthy eating. I'd love all my kids to just come home and want a stew, but they don't. They want a Twix, and they're not going to get one because they're going to have my bone broth instead.
So I've got a deep question for you now.
Oh, go on.
I remember when we first met, and I was like, what's your goal with this? And you're like, oh, I just want to do X, Y, Z, and I want to grow my followers, and I'm really enjoying myself, and I want to be healthy. But like, fast forward, that was 2019, so it's like quite a few good years now. What do you think your mission is these days?
Do you know what? I just love to change that. I'd love to put control back into the family, so we're not a slave to the packets, to the, to big food, because it's torture being addicted. It is torture because it takes up so much time and energy using willpower to come away from the Twix, the crisps, and it takes up, and it really knocks your confidence when you fall off the wagon. And I found, I can now grab a handful of crisps at a kid's party and I can be satisfied. That wouldn't have happened a few years ago, because nutritionally I am very complete, and I've managed to, I can dip in and out of it. And I see all the Ozempics and the Wegovy's coming through and everything like that. And I just see it's nobody's fault that these drugs are working. It's press pause on the addictive mechanism in the brain. And I want to be able to do that with these ingredients that our ancestors thrived on, but we've just forgotten how to use because we're too time pressed. I mean, I'd love to be like the Kellogg's. I'd love to be, every morning people get something from Will Powders, be it like our keto powder or our protein or something, and then they just have that instead of a bowl of cereal. And all of a sudden, the kids have got great nutrition. I'd love to see all kids having like a bovine collagen. I'd love them to have milk in the bloody again, before we got really ill. I'd love it. I'd love to be able to create traditional foods really simply, so that at least breakfast is sorted. When you see the breakfast clubs, they're just like Cocoa Pop, skim milk, orange juice. You're like, wow.
See, I love that as a mission, because it's funny, because I'm 46 now, and I got to the point where I've messed around and been focused on my health or my work for so many years. Now I'm obviously really wanting to build a family. This is really a thing for me. So your mission kind of resonates with me, because like, I had to learn how to be a grown-up without a father figure. And I've been seeking out mentors my whole life to be a better man or be the best version of me. And I had a small part with my granddad up to a point, which is great. And I see him from time to time. But now my brain is really wired as like, how would I be an excellent father? How would I surpass my father in terms of being an amazing dad? And it's like I'm seeing families around, mums and dads and kids and everywhere. And, you know, my partner, she often just smiles at me looking at kids. It's actually a really interesting process to go through. But I'm thinking, what I'm learning now, what would I give my future kids to have in place to make sure that they do thrive? You know?
Oh, it's fascinating. I mean, I had my first kid nearly 18 years ago. And what I knew then versus what I know now, oh my God, I feel terrible about the baby food, the rusks. Like, I mean, these like fruit shoot things. I mean, it's like bonkers. Like, there's literally no meat, hardly any meat. It's all like veg and apple purees. It's wait, I mean, it's a whole new world once you get out there with babies. The mattresses, everything is so friggin' toxic. You've no idea. It's fascinating. And I think just being able to be aware of it, and there's no guilt, there's nothing, because it's been put on us. My first child, I was so anxious because of all the health and safety. I couldn't put the car seat in properly. I was shaking with adrenaline. I mean, it was terrifying being a mum for the first time. And, you know, now I've got 4 kids down the line. I'm much more blasé about it. I'm like, it's okay, Duke can drive himself. He's only 9. But it's like, it's a whole new world, and real fear kicks in. Real fear, because no longer are you scared for yourself, you're scared for that kid. And then a whole new calculation kicks in. And oh my God, I'm going to watch you with glee. You won't be chilled and cool anymore. You will be neurotic, Dad. But it's a joy at the same time, you know. Instinct will take over. You've got 10,000 years of DNA programmed in you. You'll be a great dad. And you also know the health, and you'll have a fantastic time. And it's incredible because they don't listen to you. A whole new negotiation skill starts because they don't, you know, they're not there to impress you. They're there to just grow. And, you know, they are humbling. Kids teach you humility. I'll tell you that much for free.
It's funny because in the airport yesterday when we came back, it's like there's a guy walking along with the 2 cutest kids, and the dad was just such a cool, chilled dad, you know. And I just said to him, I really like, you know, it looks amazing. It must be awesome. And he goes, kids, I think I found you some new parents. He was like, he goes, you can take them. Do you want to go with this man and lady? And I smiled and was like, you know, okay, he's obviously had a tough time with it. And then, you know, 20 minutes later, he goes, to be honest, it's the best thing I've ever done.
Sure.
And I said, many of my friends have had kids, and they're like, oh, keep that kid away from me. And then they have a kid, and then they flip like a pancake, and they're like, oh, look at this picture of my kid.
Oh yeah, it's all consuming.
Yeah, and he was
it's
like,
mental.
That was exactly me. He goes, best thing ever. And it's like, but the thing is now the responsibility of what we've learned has to go on to those. And it's like,
but that's the point, isn't it? That's the whole point of this. That's the whole point of like biohacking. It's so you are, I mean, I don't want to die at 50 and leave 4 boys. I desperately miss my mom. And if I knew like 10 years ago what I know now, I'm sure she'd still be alive. In fact, I know she would still be alive. And she would see, and my children have missed out on a grandmother and a grandmother's love. I mean, she was so loving and so caring. You know, she was like so nurturing, and that was robbed. And I'm like, I have got to stay on guard, because clearly what's happening through my genetic line is bad. It's foul play, because we are dying. The Taylor women are dying younger and younger, and I don't want to be that one. So I am going to do. So this for me is for my kids. So my kids learn from me. They watch me go out every day and run with 2 maniac dogs, and they see how I eat. They see what we do. They hear about me talking about protein first. You know, and of course they'll go to kids' parties. Of course, the school, there's nothing I can do about it. The jam roly-poly school serves them, and the pasta on pasta on pasta. There's nothing I can do. You have to relinquish power sometimes. But I'll top and tail the day. We're meeting 2 veg at night, and, you know, we will have like carbohydrates at night. We'll have a roast dinner, and in the morning they have, you know, they have protein, they have bacon, they have eggs, and they have a protein shake, and then they're off to school. There's only so much you can do in the society we live in, but hopefully through osmosis, they'll have learned what it's like to be unhealthy and miserable. Me at 35, to me at 47, getting a biological age of 20. You know, and that gives you an inner and inner warmth because you feel like, yeah, I'm doing something positive. I'm not moaning about my health. I feel good. And then you're patient with the kids then. And then you go, yeah, let's go for a run. Let's do something. Let's like Matthew took them to the cricket nets yesterday. He feels fit and healthy. He's like, I am not doing cricket, by the way. Matthew does cricket in the kitchen. Like, why are we doing cricket in the kitchen? He's like, because it's raining outside. This is what you have to deal with. Stupid stuff happens to you. You're like, what? And I can imagine your house is immaculate. Imagine 4 kids playing cricket in the kitchen while you're trying to cook and the dog's barking. You're just like, give me some GABA.
I do love that dude. I do. I really do.
He's so nice,
He's such a legend. I mean, it'd have to be. You got a lot of energy.
Yeah, like, why are we doing this? But I'm looking forward to it because it is a chapter in life when you have children. But ultimately, you will suddenly start getting on high alert of who's going to try and harm them. I mean, every day I'm looking out for that. You're on high alert. You really are. You're looking at ingredients and everything. You think you're on high alert now, you wait till you have a kid. You start getting really mad.
I saw a reel the other week. It was really funny. It was like a guy walking along with his girl along the street in the city somewhere or other. And she's just like walking along, playing on her phone. And he's like, 2 people over there, are they a risk? No. Car moving there, is it a risk? And she's like, not realizing how he's scouring the environment to make sure she's safe. And I was like, it's actually so true. I can only imagine what it's like having kids with that as well. So,
I have to take a load of L-theanine before I go to an airport. And I don't know what it is about the airport, but for some reason, my kids are pretty good. They're well-behaved boys. But as soon as they get into an airport, we've got a load of suitcases because there's so many of us. They feel like it's time to play like dodgem cars and bumper cars with like wheeling on. One of them's 14. He's as tall as me, whizzing across Terminal 2. And I'm like, get here now. It's just like so infuriating. They're like, but this is it. And maybe that's why I don't get stressed anymore, because that is my end point. The kids push me to nth degree that if something stressful happens during like my work life, I'm like, yeah, whatever. I've got to deal with 4 kids in Terminal 2 at Manchester Airport trying to get on a Jet 2 plane that we're late for. That is stress, my friend. That is stress.
Can you do me a favour? And next time you're heading there, can you give me a shout so I can be there to see that?
You'll actually get anxiety via me. You'll go, I feel this. No one's listening to you. It's like one of those horror movies where you're screaming underwater. And Matthew says, boys, stop it. And they all sit. And I'm like, how does this happen?
Anyone that's listening to this that watches Davinia's Instagram sees it when she has a proper rant from time to time. I bloody love it, by the way. I love it. It's so good. So I just want to touch on something quickly on hormonal balance. Because we got like 10 more minutes or something or other like that. But according to the director of Northwell Health Fertility, approximately 80% of women experience hormonal imbalances at some point in their lives without even realizing it. Now, a lot of them don't even realize that their skincare and makeup could be silently messing with their hormones, right? What should we be watching out for in the ingredients list?
Well, that brings me on to deodorant. So I used to use Wild deodorant because my mum died of breast cancer. So I've always thought, the roll-ons, the sprays, I think that's near your limbs anyway. So that's always kind of been on my radar. So I was using Wild. But I think they've just been bought out by Unilever. Big money. Congratulations, them. Built it up. But I just think we should keep an eye on that deodorant company and see what ingredients go in or if they put a proprietary blend in. So deodorant would be one for me just because it's, it's so prevalent to me and my mum passing away. Perfume. I don't wear perfume anymore. Can
I jump in on the underarm one? Have you tried Fussy yet?
No.
Fussy?
No.
So I heard about this underarm that basically has probiotics in it. So lactobacillus.
Oh, serious?
So when you put it on, you don't need much at all. So it adds bacteria to your armpits, which actually eats away
neutralizes
the bacteria that causes the odors.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So, and I was like, can't be right, can't be real. And I saw it on Dragon's Den and looked them up and looked into it. And it's pretty clean. It's almost perfect. Okay. But the bacteria, you never smell. It's super clean. And I don't have an affiliation with them or anything, by the way. It just bloody works.
Good, because I was worried about Wild, because I'm like, I really liked, there was this one particular one I like the smell of. So I was using that and I thought, They're going to change. They're going to change formulation, of course. What's it called again?
Fussy. Fussy.
Okay. I'll have a nosy.
Yeah.
I'll have a nosy and go and get
love
myself.
that
That's
stuff.
really cool.
And yeah, it just bloody works. It's really great. And it comes in, so you get small little refills so you don't throw away loads of plastic.
Yeah.
It's got like a card sheath that goes in. Smells really good. They got loads of different really low scented.
Because that'll be really good for the kids as well, because I worry about their testosterone. You know, I want them to grow up with a lot of testosterone, not a lot of estrogen, because estrogen is the like aggressor hormone. That's what makes you kick off. Hence PMT. Testosterone gives you confidence, makes you competitive, but gives you that, come on, let's go and do something. Let's drive, determination. Whereas estrogen can get gnarly. Too much estrogen, you get moody, man boobs, all that. Cellulite, you don't want that. But basically, that endocrine disruptor I don't want. And I certainly don't want it in my armpits near my breast tissue. Sure. Perfume as well. Yeah, I don't have perfume. That's why I created the candles. So it's just got essential oils in. I just use that as a body if I'm going out or something.
Beautiful.
But I've stopped using perfume. Although the kids have been going through a phase, I think it's because it's via TikTok, of wanting scents, talking about autonomizers and everything. I mean, I'm just going to try and let them ride it out. Although one of them started saying to me, it's bad for your hormones, isn't it? So that's coming through on TikTok. And I said, yes, it is. Can we get rid of Paco Rabanne now, please?
Oh, man.
Plugins or the Glade plugins, get them out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think the lungs are probably the most underestimated entry point for toxins that we forget about, because obviously you lay the lungs out flat and it's the size of a tennis court, and and that's why vapes are so addicting. Boom, straight into the bloodstream. So for me, perfume, sprays, aerosols, all that, you mean, whoa. And as soon as you take it out, I go for a walk, or when I take the dogs for a run, it's quite a popular walk in Lancashire, and the amount of women that walk past me and I can smell the perfume for ages afterwards. It's like this mist of perfume. I bet they can't even smell it, and it's so strong. We're talking about 100 meters and I can still smell it in the air.
Well, they have propellants in them. They have propellants in them to make them move out further. It's crazy. So when I was in Middle East recently, I know, like, they use a lot. They use a lot of, so many scents. And I'm like, literally, in fact, it's funny, whenever I go into an airport and you have to walk through the duty-free area, I'm like, I want to hold my breath. It's like literally the most toxic environment I can possibly think of is a department store with a fake blue light with perfumes everywhere.
Can you imagine being stuck there? I mean,
and if you look at the skin of a lot of the people that work in those areas, you see that they've always got lots of acne or really not good skin. And they have to use a lot of their own product to cover up.
Yeah, of course.
It's actually insane. And when I think back to my grandfather when I was like 10, whenever we'd walk through Debenhams or House of Fraser or whatever, he'd always be like, oh, it makes me feel really funny being in here. My granddad, he knew it intuitively.
But apparently if you go carnivore, you don't smell anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I've been hit like that. You don't get any body odor.
Really?
Yeah, I think Anthony Chafee told me that. But I do carnivore like in January, like after that. I mean, shit happens in December. I mean, I don't get drunk, but as close as to getting drunk as possible, which is like junk food. So I always like try and do a January reset for World Carnivore Month. And you know, you lean up, you feel sharper, but boredom takes me out. A cucumber takes me out. I've relapsed on a cucumber, sack it. You know, so. But I mean, apparently there's something in that as well. Meat only diet. You don't get any body odor, apparently.
I mean, I noticed that when I drink, rarely, when I drink, I generally end up having body odor 2 days later.
Oh, it stinks. I mean, I can smell people really. I mean, I'm so attuned to it. There was a guy on the train yesterday coming up and he was like 5 seats away from me. I could smell hangover on him. And he was high. You know, he sat down. He wasn't like a vagabond. I just thought, God, he's having a heavy night.
Just say, get some fussy, mate.
Get some fussy and get to rehab.
It's so good.
I'm really interested in that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm plugging them. I'm really not. I just
don't matter. You know, that's what we do. We share. We share the goodness.
When you genuinely love something and it works very well, and they're doing a good job, I think.
Well, that's why I used to like promote Wild. I never used to get a kickback or anything. I just really thought they were a good company. So that's why I'm quite happy to say, by the way, they've been bought by Unilever. So watch it. You know, no affiliate ever.
It happens so much.
Yeah, but I mean that's business, isn't it? That's business.
Yeah,
that's what they do.
Yeah, and then it's a shame. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, I understand it's such a dilemma. I mean, like if someone comes and offers you like hundreds of millions for your brand or whatever, And it's like people that have just made a brand from nothing to something. It's like, it must be a really tough dilemma. I mean, there's things that...
However, what would you do with, if you love your brand and you love your job, what the fuck are you going to do? Be bored? Because boredom and disconnection and loneliness will kill you. And watch it, because that's when people end up drinking. That's when people end up gambling. That's when loneliness, because no longer have you got your team. No longer are you creating something. No longer are you supporting the greater good, which we do. So we get that serotonin feel good because we're not deceiving anyone. What the fuck are you going to do with the rest of your life? Or just like go on holiday and drive a fast car? Oh, fucking hell, please.
Yeah. It's funny because someone... I'm gonna say it now because I was sitting down talking to a friend and he said, "What's your higher purpose?" I was like, "I have two things. One, I had a realization last year, say a spiritual awakening, where I realized that everyone should leave the planet a better place than where they found it. That's my ultimate high purpose. The side note to that is I want my grandkids to go, he was awesome."
Yeah.
These are the two things that drive me. And I think if, with the summit, for instance, we've been offered to be bought out, as I mentioned earlier on. It's like, I said, no right now. And I understand there's, maybe in 10, 20 years or whatever, it might be different.
It stops being fun for you and it stops driving you. And and I think being creative and like looking for solutions is what drives us as a human race, regardless of your job. If you feel purpose, it's brilliant. So if you're going to take that away from someone who's naturally creative, what are you going to do? You're going to get toxic. You're going to... boredom, man. I hate boredom. I hate Sundays because the office isn't open. I'm like, what are we doing? I find it really... I hate boredom. Boredom's rubbish.
I mean, I think this is why a lot of people that are very religious, their purpose can be their religion and they hold on to this regardless of their level of success. And I think gives them a higher purpose to always go towards. And they also look forward to Sundays, but not for the office.
Well, this is it, But to me, that's the connection. Religion often brings, spirituality brings connection. So that gives you that warm, cozy feeling, when you have people sharing an experience, just getting together, which obviously we all felt during lockdown. That lack of connection drove addiction. It drove compulsive spending. It drove compulsive eating. It drove compulsive gambling. It drove... A lot of people got very, very sick, drinking. Everything happened because there was no connection. There was no community. And we forget that is the biggest biohack in the world.
It is. Connection equals health. This is actually the slogan for the summit in the coming year.
Oh, is it?
Connection equals health, yeah.
Because I found that when I was on stage at your place, I said, I've got my tribe. I always like to be part of a tribe, be it like back in the 90s, it was a tribe of excess. And then obviously I've got my family tribe, but then I've got a tribe outside as well. And it's like people speak the same language. You've got the same sense of humour. We just take the piss out of ourselves, biohackers, because we're freaking crackers, aren't we?
For sure.
Well, we seem like we're crackers, but reality, it's just evolution, repurposed. I mean, it's been tried and tested for millennia. But I like how we take the piss out of ourselves because that makes you bulletproof.
Yeah.
If you can have humility and just go, whatever.
Well, future-proof.
Oh, yep. Correct. Great caveating. You should have your own show.
So, a couple of quick fire things before we wrap up today. This has been really fun, by the way. Really enjoyed it. I feel like we can just chat shit and share. Of course. So, what's one wellness myth that drives you bonkers?
Calories in, calories out. Eat less, move more. That one, that particular one, and all calories are equal. It's that calorie one for me, because we all know that if you put a calorie in your mouth that is like a McVitie's biscuit, that acts completely differently to the same calories from a steak and eggs. And what happens over the next 20 minutes is totally different. The same level of calories. One will lead you down to cracking on with whatever you were doing with your day. The other one will lead you to the crisps cupboard. And you'll start overeating on something else and you'll get distracted and your brain will not be engaged and you will go through withdrawal craving. It's totally fucking crazy that people don't acknowledge that we are being told to moderate addicting foods. Eat everything in moderation. Shut up. It's addicted. It's been designed that way. It's a bliss point food. Or you can see it's wound me right up.
I know. Love it. I love it.
Really mad at that. Everything in moderation. Shut up with your balanced diet bollocks. It doesn't work.
So much.
We all can't stop eating.
Anyone that is listening to this that goes, no, that's bollocks. I think the calories in, calories out is the most important thing because people lose weight from it. Just have a look up how they measure calories. Like, have a look at the experiment. You can look at it on YouTube, how calories were measured.
Is it the burning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
I
like,
think we did it at school.
Yeah,
Like we burnt a peanut.
yeah. And they do it in a tank of water and see how the temperature rises from it. So,
Yeah.
so how is that anything to do with metabolism in terms of the energy?
And if all calories are created equal, why do they have bliss point foods that are literally designed to be low calorie, but hyper palatable? And you have mathematicians in position at Big Food, not dietitians, to create irresistible food with mouthfeel, with dopamine expression, with addictive properties. So you will go back for more, not necessarily the same food, but probably from the same brand or from the same group of foods. Just the big five. Your Mars Company, your Unilever, your Procter & Gamble, they're all the same.
Do you know anything about monosodium glutamate by any chance?
Yes.
Oh, your eyes lit up then. Oh.
Chinese takeaway.
Yeah. So
fabulous stuff.
Glutamate receptors in the brain. Yeah. Monosodium glutamate. It's basically a neurotransmitter sprinkled on food so that it makes it more addictive. So our brain goes, oh, we like this. It tastes good. So if you ever have your sweet and sour chicken, Hong Kong style, covered, absolutely drenched in monosodium glutamate receptor.
It's literally a drug.
Yeah.
It's literally a drug. It's sprinkled with speed.
It's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's one go-to mental reset practice for when you're overwhelmed or overstimulated?
Infrared sauna. Pop-up one, the zip-up one, a couple £100. I don't care about if there's EMF in it or whatever. I have to sweat.
Yeah.
I have to sweat. And by the way, there's no EMF in it because it's the same as a hairdryer. But that thing got me through lockdown, the zippy up thing. And I don't care what people say about marshmallow TV. If I am hooked into some reality TV, it'll take me out my own funk. And if I've got people on WhatsApp or watching it, something ridiculous like Married at First Sight, I know, look at you with your snobby ways, but you'll soon see sometimes you just need to switch off and judge other people from a distance. And I can just go, oh my God, have you seen what she's just said? That's first of all connection, but I'm also in an infrared sauna. I store stress in my liver. That infrared light draws it out as faster than anything. And I'm distracted by it because I'm invested in a story that's outside myself. And I will do 20, 25 minutes in there, quick cold shower, done. Wim Hof, with some breath of fire or something really fast in case of emergency. That'll pull me back. I'll feel the serotonin rush and I'll change my attitude. My perception of life will change. I'll feel less overwhelmed, less paranoid, less under attack, less scared for my kids' lives because my head goes that dark. I think about all the predators out there that I've heard on the news and what would I do to one of them if one of them got hold of my kids. This is where your head goes. It goes really fucking dark.
No.
And to get myself out of that, I need infrared sauna, crap TV, bit of connection, sharing with another mum who feels the same, and a cold shower, wallop. And then I'm back in the room. And if all else fails, I get on my knees and pray and say, please take away this flipping mental state I'm in. And it'll go.
So I love that. I love this. Great, very simple solutions. In fact, I do the same with sauna. That's it. I was at an event and I was a bit overstimulated and just didn't know how to quite wind down. So I grabbed my towel, jumped straight in the sauna, cold shower, sauna,
it
cold shower.
reduces or cause mortality by like 40%, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's heart healthy as well. They say, well, it increases your blood pressure. Yeah, but you got to hydrate. You got to add those minerals back in. You got to
which funnily enough have got salt in, which is weird. But hey, low salt. I mean, it's heart healthy, low salt, low fat, low cal. If you see any of those on a packet, spin it around and let's have a look at the chemical shitstorm they've put into your ultra-processed food.
It's insane, isn't it?
Isn't it?
So 2 more questions before we wrap up. So what are your 3 top practices for women who want to balance their hormones?
Balance your hormones. You see, I'm like this balancing my hormones. Sometimes I want to be high stress, high energy, and other times I want to be high GABA, coziness. So for me, it's about hacking your hormones, pulling on the strings as where and when is appropriate. So I get up in the morning, I get outside, regardless of the weather, bearing in mind I'm in the north of England where it rains 98% of the time, but there is enough light coming through those overhead clouds to stimulate more cortisol. Cortisol's great in the morning, gets you up. Just because it gets a bad rap, if cortisol during the afternoon and the evening, shit. But you hack it in the morning, you will get your jobs done, you will negotiate better, you will ask for that pay rise at work in the morning. You are sharper in the morning. And I will ride that cortisol with caffeine, because caffeine will open up the dopamine receptors, which the blue light from the clouds, the cloudy, horrible, dismal sky, will push into my brain. I also, you experience dopamine better with caffeine. You know, it opens up that receptor. So I also take something called brain powder, which I sell at Raw Powders, but you could buy it separately with macuna purines. And macuna purines has got a precursor L-dopa in it, again, to boost dopamine first thing in the morning. Dopamine gives you confidence, gives you a bit of oomph, a bit of like get up and go, you know? So I have that in the morning. That I elevate my cortisol first thing in the morning, meaning I don't have to do it again during nighttime. So again, at nighttime, I'm going to nurture my sleep, nurture my GABA. I'm going to have carbohydrates. I'm going to have sourdough with cheese on toast with butter. Oh my God, lovely. While the TV's on, something inoffensive, the news isn't on, something that's really cozy. And even if it is a little bit judgmental, so be it. And I will just wind down. I try and stay away from emails or anything like that at night. And with the kids, you know, I do my best to get them to bed on time, but I will always do that sort of infrared sauna protocol, bit of TV, probably got blue blocking glasses on, by the way, but not the dark ones, because I still like to see the TV. So sorry about that, full disclosure.
You do get used to it. It's really funny, yeah, because a couple of times I thought they were my reading glasses. I'm like,
oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, no, they are.
You adapted?
Yeah, you do.
I think you would actually.
The brain, it's like, for instance, if they did the experiment where they hang people upside down and their eyes shift the other way up. Our bodies are super adaptive to the environment in every way. I mean, this is a lot of what we do. It's adapting.
You're right.
But I've got to say, just one thing before I ask the last question is, I love that we've sat down and discussed some of these things, because I really see how you have really mastered individualization in terms of optimizing for yourself, for your state. And I think, you know, I heard someone say last week at the Intelligent Change Summit, like, unless something's really bad or really good, we don't realize, because we're just down the middle.
Yeah.
And when something gets really bad, we know we have to change something, such as my health back in 2013 or whatever. It's like something makes you step up.
Yeah.
And us having this addictive nature that we both have makes us have excellence. We get addicted to health, which is probably one of the best things we can ever do. And we get to know this stuff. But I really feel that you've mastered so many of these areas. And it's really great hearing a lot of the things that you've learned and how you do these. So I really like that last question very much.
And also for people who are just starting out, it's progress, not perfection. I am no means a purist, you know? I will get things wrong all the time. And I know what I'm doing when I'm sabotaging my health. And I'm not feeding into the industry. I know if I'm going to end up at flipping having a Domino's pizza, I know what I'm doing. And it's not a treat. And I will feel crap. And my liver's going to pay for it. And my mood's going to go down. And it's not my mental health. It's the junk in my body. And I've got to be patient and let my body detox it. So it's just becoming aware of what we're doing and pulling away from the marketing that has been bombarded with us. I mean, Domino's pizza with the Simpsons. You know what I mean? It was perfect. Perfect, you know, and we were raised on that it's a treat, that it's fun, that it's funny, that it's cool, you know? That's the rebel. And the same with I'm watching my kids drinking too much Monster at school. That's what they do. I mean, I never had caffeine at that age. You're joking. I'm trying to teach them about L-theanine and magnesium, and like, I know you're going to have it because, you know, you're all going to be rebellious and you're going to nip off at lunchtime and you're all going to have it and then be expected to sit in double science with 400 milligrams of caffeine in you. You know, but here, kids, here are the tools to bring you down because it's a weird world in which we live in. So that's what I want to do with my page and because we're not perfect. And anyone who says they are is a frigging liar and really triggering, to be honest. I find those pages that everyone's perfect and doing journaling and omming, and I'm like, oh, fuck off.
Well,
lucky you.
As we discussed earlier on, it's usually the ones that look perfect on the outside that actually have the biggest flaws behind the scenes.
Yes.
And when you get to know these guys, you get to know who they are.
Yeah.
And these gurus are often not actually our gurus. And
no, and honesty and knowing your faults and airing them is really interesting because it makes people feel better. And I've learned that along the way. Being an alcoholic, it's the first thing you learn is a lot of humility and whoa. I really messed up there.
I mean, it's the path to mastery. I mean, this is the big question for today, and it's the last and final one. And it's interesting that it leads on perfectly. It's like, is our constant search for happiness actually making us more miserable?
I think maybe because we're often looking for euphoria instead of contentment, you know? So I often check how happy I am when I come away from home. So last night I'm texting Matthew going, I can't wait to get home. I'd only been away about 4 hours. And I'm like, and I realised that I've not got a beautiful palace to live in. It's not the ideal house because, hey, we can't play cricket indoors because I shout. And we've definitely not got a sitting room. And the bedrooms are too small and the bunk beds, the kids are going to grow out of them, but oh my God, do I feel safe there? And it's only when we come away from it that I realise how content I actually am, and that's my safe space. And I've got insane dogs, but my God, they make me feel cozy. And for me, safety is the ultimate goal for me rather than happiness. Safety makes me happy and everything else will spin off from there. And we do laugh and we do cry, but for me, it's feeling safe. Feeling safe to create, feeling safe to be honest, feeling safe to admit when I'm wrong. And that is what I think we're all craving: safety, not necessarily happiness.
I think that's lovely. It's a really, really nice answer. I like this very much. Thank you. I mean, my closing line for the day before I thank you is, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to get conscious. Follow Davinia for the dopamine triggers and start reclaiming your mind, because this isn't just about health, it's about freedom. So thank you, Davinia, for coming in today. It's nice having breakfast. It was good hanging out, good spending some time together, good digging into your brain and hearing, what drives you and where everything's going. And I'm loving following your journey, especially trying will powders along the way as well.
Good. Thank you for having me. And it's so nice to consider you a friend. Yeah. And I'm fascinated watching what you're doing as well, and I love how you're raw and honest about where you've come from, because that's what helps people. We hate perfection. It's really fucking boring.
Amen. Thanks.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Health Optimization Podcast, and I'm Tim Gray. If you've enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. See you next time, and remember, let's spread the health.